Hi, everybody. It's Danny Bader, and I wanted to drop in and share some thoughts with you as we are still in our lockdown mode, isolation, whatever we want to call it. You might notice my eye here is a little swollen. I am in the house with my wife, Lisa, and daughter, Lizzie, and they did not get sick and tired of me and give me a good whack. I actually got a little sty or something in there. Anyhow, I wanted to talk today about one of the principles of Jackrabbit that I often write about, and it's to seek support. And it's always important for us in our life, and certainly, more important now as we're going through what we're going through. So, just to let you know a little story here. When I was younger, I was caught up in a life of crime, and it was me and my older brother, Eddie. And I guess I was about 10 or 11 at the time. It was organized crime. He and I were very, very organized. I was about 10 or 11 years of age, and Eddie was a few years older, probably 13 or 14. And we were thieves. And I'm certainly not proud of it. I have since changed my ways. But our goal was to steal chocolate. And we were going to steal chocolate from one of the most secure places in our home, and that was our father's underwear drawer. Now you may think, well, why did your father put chocolate in his underwear drawer? But we had 8 children growing up. I have one wonderful, beautiful sister and 6 tremendous brothers. So we've got 8 kids now. And you got to think, if my dad put chocolate on the kitchen counter with 8 kids, that's going to last about as long as toilet paper at the Walmart these days, if you know what I mean. So we knew he had it up there in his underwear drawer, and I realized that I needed to practice this principle called seek support. So I elicited Eddie, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to go up there. I'll be the guy going in. You stay down at the bottom of the stairs, and you keep an eye out on things." And he said, "All right, we'll do it." And we went on like that for a number of years. We'd always steal a little bit at a time, and I would always make sure I tried to fold it up the same way. It was one of those big blocks. And I'm sure my dad now, God bless him, he's there. My mom, he's 90, she's 82 or whatever. They probably knew we were stealing it, but it went a whole lot slower this way. And I'm sure my dad had another stash somewhere else that he had for him. So anyhow, as I said, I have since changed my ways and gotten out of that life of crime. But as I think back on it, funny little story about where we really need support in our life. Now, I'm going to also post here on a TED Talk or a TED Talk by this woman, Kelly McGonigal. I'll put it up on my page here. She does a great TED Talk around handling stress, and she talks about the importance of having those people in our lives that we need to deal with, and how when we're in a stressful situation, our brain starts to release oxytocin. And oxytocin is one of those neurochemical transmitters that go through the billions of brain cells, and they connect and they latch on and they create mood and everything else. And that's about as scientific as I can get. I don't know how the hell these things do these things, but I know what they do. And oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine are all really, really good neurochemicals to have released in your brain. So I would encourage you to think about who are the people in your life that really support you. And what I'd like to do is I'll just read maybe a page from my first book, Back from Heaven's Front Porch, 5 Principles for a Happy and Fulfilling Life. Now this book is no longer, there's a couple more out there, but we're going to do a second edition of this, and it's going to be called Back to Life: The Path of Resilience. And it's kind of not funny, but this has been in the works for about 6 months, because I don't know that the title and the cover really captured what this book was all about. So as I've continued to grow my brand and kind of get my message out there, some folks had said to me, you might want to rebrand the book, and I agreed with them. So it'll have a new preface. It'll have some questions in there for book club discussion if you'd like. And it's going to also have a final chapter or two that we're working on right now. I was talking with my editor yesterday. So some of you that have read the story, it's going to be the same book, but it will have more at the end. And I don't want to give away too much, but many of you have said, "Hey, what happened to Jake? What did he do? Did he make it?" And we'll answer some of those questions for you. So at the end of this book here, Preacher, there's a guy named Preacher, and he is sitting in the hot tub with Jake, and Jake's kind of me. And Preacher said to him, he said, the people in your life are a main source of support, but it's a real powerful two-way street, man. You got to keep an eye out for the kind of energy they are giving you and that you're giving them. Do you really know which people in your life are your best support network? The ones that love you no matter what, the ones who want you to succeed and be well, the ones who you can call anytime, day or night, and ask for anything, and they would deliver. And Jake says, I guess so. I mean, I never really thought about it, but I think so. I lifted some water in my cupped hands and let it drip through my fingers. And my friends, my sisters and brothers raced across my mind. Preacher says to him, you need to know who they are, man. Preacher's this big dude, tattoos and all. He says, you need to know who they are, man, especially where you're at. I once heard a doctor buddy of mine tell a story about when his dad passed away. This is a true story from my brother-in-law, Bobby, who I love dearly. So a lot of this is true in here in the book. And Preacher's telling the story, and he says, he and I played football back in college. And Preacher says, well, he played a little bit more than me. The folks in charge asked if I'd consider leaving the squad. Actually, they didn't ask. So Preacher got kicked out of college. And he says, I see this guy from time to time. He's been good to me. His dad's been sick and getting worse for almost a year. At the end, his dad was in a hospital and really, really near death. He said the whole family had come to see him except for his son-in-law and granddaughter, who were driving in on their way from a few states away. Anyhow, shortly after they arrived and said their goodbyes, the man died. My friend said it was as if the dad knew that they weren't there yet, even when he was so out of it. Some part of him knew he had to let them say goodbye to him. Now, my buddy said this, I'll never forget it. He said that his dad's vital signs were incompatible with life. Now, there's $1 million phrase for you, incompatible with life. What it means to me is that this guy's will to be with some of his support network, his spirit, was stronger than the worldly facts of medicine and biology. To me, that says something. Maybe it says everything. So Preacher's talking to Jake, who's going through this tough time in his life, and saying, man, you got to connect with your people. So my message today that I will offer to you, especially in these times right now, are you connecting with your people? You know, I saw something where Zoom is blowing up. FaceTime is certainly getting a whole lot more. I've seen some of these virtual happy hours that people are doing. So here's what I would challenge you to do. Maybe make a list of 5, 10, 15 people that really, really are your support network, and you are theirs, because it is a two-way street. And why don't you go ahead and do this? Every day now for the next week, contact one of them. And if I were you, I would contact one of them that you haven't talked to in a little while. You know those people when you think and go, oh man, yeah, it's been too long since I talked with them? Give yourself a little challenge. Write their name down, put a couple little boxes next to it, and check them off one at a time. And if you can do it virtually where you see one another, that's a heck of a whole lot better. Now, there are some other ways you can seek support too, right? It would be the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. So mentally, first thing when you wake up in the morning, what's that first line of your day, of your movie? What's that little voice in your head saying as soon as you wake up? I had a kind of funky day yesterday. I mean, my events are getting canceled pretty fast. So that tremendous first quarter that I had, I'm looking at a second quarter now going, all right, let's hang in there. So I was a little funky yesterday, and I had some noise up here. That guy that I call ST, Shitty Thoughts, he showed up. And he started to kind of tell me all the reasons this wasn't going to be good and work out. And I caught myself and kind of reversed it, sought some support, talked to some cool people. I watched that video that I told you I'm going to put up from Kelly McGonigal that's really, really great. So that's good. Mental also is good if you sit down in the morning and you journal. I mean, this is probably my, gosh, I don't know if I looked, my 8th or 9th journal in life since I was 35 or 40. And that's just for this year. So every day just to sit down and kind of get your thoughts down there. Scientists say that's really good for us. They call it distributed cognition. The second way is physical. So really two things. Make sure that you're exercising, especially today. Get out and walk. Do some planks, do some stretching, do some yoga, any of that kind of stuff. Build it into your day. The second part of that is nutrition. You really got to make sure you're getting the fruits, the vegetables. You know, the carbs are good, but watch them in moderation. Certainly watch our intake of alcohol. and some of those other things as we're cooped up right now. And then the third way, physical, mental, physical, and then certainly a spiritual. So you can see now that there's a whole lot of people posting more things around spiritual religion, however you want to come at it. But it's times like these, you know, I say it's often in the silence that we hear the most. It's times like these that we really start to consider the fact that there is someone, something bigger than us, or you consider the possibility. And either way, that's okay. But I would encourage you to spend some time with that thing bigger than us, because as many of you know, and maybe some of you don't, I spent some time. I died and I came back. And there is no question in my mind that when our body stops, there's a part of us that does not. And I would be very arrogant to say, hey, I got it, but you people don't. You all have it. So tap into that for some support, however you see fit, all right? So yeah, Eddie and I are no longer in a life of crime, which is a good thing. It's very important for you to seek support. And here's the last thing. When you chat with these people and you're in touch with them, at the end, if not throughout the conversation, at the end, tell them that you love them. Tell them that you love them. Say those words, I love you, however it's going to come out. And also be very, very comfortable with when they say those words to you. Just accept it and say thank you. So until next time we chat here, I love you. Have a wonderful day.